people on the other side.
About the President of the United States.
I know what you're asking.
Who assigned blame entirely to one party. When you know the facts show that sadly, people claiming affiliation with both left and right have committed horrible acts of violence.
Sure. But you know what? If the roles were reversed, Democrats, rightfully so, would say Republicans need to tell people on their side to calm down. I have not seen a significant number of Democratic leaders calling for people on their side to calm down. And again, I have seen a ton of social media posts of people applauding this. That's insane to me.
But that's actually not true.
That's Michael Shannon refusing to play along with CNN's favorite game. Pretend that both sides are equally responsible for the climate we're living in. Because every time violence erupts against conservatives, the establishment media scrambles to gaslight people into thinking it's somehow Trump's fault. Welcome to Nerk News, I'm Nerkish, and it looks like the left is doing exactly what they always do, running interference for the radicals in their own ranks. Because the fatal attack on Charlie Kirk wasn't enough to make them rethink their rhetoric. Instead, they're back to blaming Trump and demanding that the side being attacked tone it down. Here's CNN's resident late-night liberal shill, Abby Phillip, and her panel of progressive pod people trying to do just that.
That there are some people who spend all their time just trying to whip up the base, and the result of that is something really toxic for the country.
Look, you know, I heard the congressman on there saying, oh, we need to tone down the rhetoric. Well, will the rhetoric get toned down? I mean, again, I go back to what was on the bullet from this kid was fascism, and that's only coming from one side currently in this debate, and it's on every placard and every poster around the country. I mean, I think it's a valid question, but are they going to live up to what they say they're going to do with the Nazi and the fascism and the like?
Do you think
I don't think we know, just to be clear, I mean, just law enforcement people, I don't think we know the meaning of his message. We know his history.
Bella Ciao is an anti-fascist thing. It says fascists catch this.
Then I'll give you his history. Then I'll give you his history, right? Think about his history. His history, but this is not the
Why are we debating that? This is what I'm
that's what I wanted to tell you. This was my point, not yours. This was my point, not yours. The point is, who cares? A man was killed. And you have yet to say political violence is bad, period. That's all that people want from the president. That's all. And we're getting this spin up of the you and this and what. Stop counting. Well, stop looking, because you're not going to divine a perfect motive in this case. I think we're looking for it. You're not going to divine it. We generally don't.
You know, it's incredible watching Abby Phillip and her crew of liberal hacks pretend to act shocked that anyone would connect the dots between years of Democrat leaders screaming about fascists and the attack on Charlie Kirk by a leftist radical. I mean, they did the exact same thing after the near-fatal attempts on Trump in 2024, gaslight, deflect, and blame the victim. Which just goes to show you that their whole line about victim blaming is just another political tool they only use when it suits their needs. They can't admit their rhetoric creates powder kegs on college campuses, so they shift the blame back onto the people being shot at. And that sets up exactly why Democrats and their media allies lean so hard into branding Trump and his supporters as monsters.
Let me ask you tonight, do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do.
This is what kicking the shit out of fascism looks like.
Try to prevent the spread of the lawlessness and the fascist chaos that's been unleashed against us.
So when we say Donald Trump is a fascist, fascism, a huge component of fascism, is uniting racism, bigotry, a form of racist nationalism.
We are now living in a fascist dictatorship.
We are worried about potential rise of fascism in this country. We're worried about our democracy falling to an authoritarian and potentially fascist form of government.
Not only to roll over to Donald Trump's will, but to roll over our democracy and allow him to take over this country as a fascist dictator.
When fascism isn't just coming, it's already here.
The former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley, said,
No one has ever been more dangerous to this country than Donald Trump, and he is a fascist to his core.
You know, they love playing whataboutism, but Democrats never qualify their attacks. Anyone on the right who doesn't publicly condemn Trump and become a tool of the left are viewed as fascists and threats to democracy. I mean, FBI data shows threats against conservatives spiked 40% after that language ramped up. Compare that to Trump's wording. He calls out leftist radicals and the extreme left. He points to the fringe, not your average liberal neighbor. The left doesn't do that. Their blanket smear gives license to radicals who think people like Kirk are fair game. And here's the reality check liberals are missing. Kirk wasn't some far-right conspiracy theorist cult leader living on a compound and forming militias or something. He represented baseline, entry-level conservative values. He passionately cared about and shared the core values of the right. He was a pro-life, pro-Second Amendment, pro-secure borders, and pro-fiscal responsibility. Polls show 60 to 70% of independents agree with a lot of those positions. But in the left's bubble, if you're to the right of Mitt Romney, you're far right and disposable. That's why you saw establishment figures caught off guard after Kirk's death. They actually believed their own propaganda.
I mean, we keep hearing, we've been hearing about that baby Hitler question. Like, if you had the opportunity, would you kill baby Hitler? Well, the bubble that this guy lived in had him convinced that's what he was doing, that he would be heroic. Let's face it, if Charlie hadn't been killed, in 10, 15, 20 years, he would have been president. He had the talent stack, no question. That office was for him. So the left created a moment that taking out Kirk was like taking out a baby Hitler 2.0. I've said this on the show over the years that when you brand someone a Nazi or a fascist, you put everything on the table to stop them. If you don't stop them, you are immoral. You have to do everything you can to stop a Nazi or Hitler or a fascist. Could have been any one of us, but I'll tell you, it never would have been Colbert or Don Lemon or Morning Joe because, again, they aren't called fascists or Nazis.
I mean, the left keeps running the same playbook of ratcheting up the rhetoric and branding conservatives as monsters. Then when violence erupts, pivoting to gaslighting and whataboutism. We saw it after the BLM riots that caused $2 billion in damage and resulted in the deaths of 25 people. And we're seeing it again. Trump supporters are told to tone it down while liberals grotesquely celebrate online and even make shirts depicting the attack. That double standard is why you're seeing the right mobilized like never before. Everyone from Reagan-era neocons to America First populists. Because in a lot of ways, Kirk's positions represented the foundation of conservatism, which means that if they would attack him for his beliefs, they would attack anyone on the right. They just happened to choose him because he was so successful at spreading that message, which is why the entire right is waking up and realizing that the answer isn't to cower. It's to use political power and constitutional rights to finally draw a line and send a message that this kind of behavior has no place in America, and that if you support it in any way, you need to be publicly humiliated and never allowed near a position of political power again. But let me know what you think. Has the left's rhetoric crossed a line that can't be walked back? Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. That stuff really does help us out. Until then, this has been Nerk News. Thanks for watching. Bye!